वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Okay, who's online? Tell who's online. Hare Krishna. So let's revise a few points from yesterday, and we would like to hear from the online devotees first.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So,
No, wait.
Yes.
We appreciate your great enthusiasm, but we would like to hear from those from whom we have not so far had the opportunity to hear.
Prabhuji, may I or not?
No, you are also always there, very enthusiastic. We'll come back to you, but we want to first of all get association from rare souls.
Prabhuji, can I say?
Who's that?
I'm Kamalakant Das, Prabhuji.
Yes, please speak.
Prabhuji, yesterday you were telling about this birth, death, old age, this cycle, and then how this we go back to different yonis, and then different lives we take depending upon the consciousness. The consciousness is very important, and mind also. Mind physically is important, but more important is mind and consciousness. This is more important. So that was the very important point I felt.
Good. Yes, we were discussing about the point of the importance of training the subtle body and elevating the consciousness. Good. Somebody else?
Hare Krishna Guruji, Dandavat Pranam.
May we know your identity?
Suvarna Gauraridas.
Good. Very wonderful to hear you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
I'm
Krishna.
just traveling. So yesterday we were talking about Uddhava's consciousness, how Uddhava, after seeing the gopis' love for Krishna, he became so humble. He felt very humble, and then he aspired to take the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis, and he wanted to become a creeper in Vrindavan. So there we saw how gopis are the highest and topmost of the devotees. So this goes to show that how gopis are the highest devotees. That's good.
Good, thank you. Somebody else?
Hare Krishna. Shall I speak, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Madhuseva, Prabhu.
So yesterday we had a lot of discussion on about Uddhava actually. How that Uddhava is speaking such thing in the greatest humility, the highest of prema actually. That one point I liked. And another point was about consciousness from fifth skanda Puravakhyan. How everybody can understand who was he in the previous life, what will become in the next life is based on everything is on consciousness, subtle body. So you have to prepare and take responsibility of the subtle body.
Right. And that is whose responsibility?
Our own responsibility.
Yes. Nobody else's responsibility. It is our own responsibility. For whose benefit?
For our own benefit.
Yes, for our own benefits. That's an important point to note. Yes, somebody else would like to say something? Anyway, it just reminded me of His Holiness Badrinaran Maharaj. In one class, he was saying that many times in a temple also, if we ask someone, Prabhu, why didn't you come for Mangalarti? So then the answer tends to be, Maharaj, that senior devotee, he also doesn't come. That senior devotee, he also does not come. So then Maharaj says, he said, so when in childhood, so I think there were two brothers, and so I would do some mischief, some naughty things, and mother would ask, so why you have done like this? Then I would say, oh, my elder brother also does like this only. So then mother would say, okay, so if he falls in the ditch, you will also fall? So therefore that is not a good logic. And as human beings itself, Prabhupada writes in the Ishopanishad third mantra, first sentence, right? In the first sentence, Prabhupada writes, what? Anybody remembers Ishopanishad?
The attitude of a devotee is
That's nectar of instruction.
nectar of devotion.
Human life is a life of responsibility. That's the first sentence. And then what to speak of devotees? So as human beings itself, one is supposed to take responsibility for his life. The human being is responsible for everything he does. Animals are not responsible. Prabhupada's famous example. The animal breaks traffic rules and the animal is not fined. The human being is fined. Why? Because the human being has the intelligence to take responsibility for his actions. And then what to speak of devotees? How much responsible devotees have to be? So if as devotees we don't act responsibly, that means we have not actually understood what is devotional service. That means we are doing some things mechanically. ठीक है, कुछ तो चल रहा है. But then we can meditate on Srila Prabhupada's well-known famous example in the 15th chapter of the first canto. What? In connection to the Pandavas retiring. Everyone has to fly his own plane. Help may be given when the plane is on the grounds. The ground staff is there. But once the plane takes off, the pilot is on his own. Then he has to figure out what to do. So similarly, ultimately we are all individual souls leading individual lives, and every soul is responsible for his own actions, and everyone has to bear the consequences of his own karma. And so therefore, if one is, and therefore ultimately every devotee is responsible for his own devotional service. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada explains that the spiritual master is also responsible for his own devotional service. It's not that if the disciples are performing good devotional service, he gets some extra credits. No. He has to perform his own devotional service. Guru has to perform his own devotional service. Every disciple has to perform his own devotional service. It's all individual. We can get help, that's all. But ultimately, when I sit down to chant, nobody else can chant for me, correct? In class, you can mark attendance for somebody else. But when we sit down to chant, then nobody else can chant for us. Ultimately, I have to chant, and what is my quality of chanting? It's entirely dependent on me. So, therefore, that is my responsibility. Right. Okay, fine. Any other points? Okay, anyone from here wants to add?
Prabhuji, may I?
Okay, go ahead.
Prabhuji, yesterday we went a little behind actually with the 30th shloka, where nahi sarvatmana kichit, where Krishna's body, soul, mind, and intelligence. So he was in Mathura, and the gopis were in Vrindavan, but Krishna's body, mind, soul, and intelligence were remembering the gopis because Krishna is all pervading. So he made his appearance in the mind of the gopis by his own efforts. So he's giving Dadami Buddhi Yogi, he's giving us his remembrance to us, and he's maintaining that form that is within the mind of the gopis also. So Prakat or Aprakat, within the mind of gopis, he appears, and then there are intense feelings of separation, and that is why he's always conscious of his devotees, even in Mathura, Dwarka, or anywhere. Like so. This was heart-touching point for me, Prabhuji.
Good, thank you. उसको थोड़ा और न, उसको पूरा ऊपर करना है. हाँ ठीक. यहाँ देखो वॉल्यूम. Okay, you can speak. We can hear.
Not getting the pleasure which he received here on the banks of Yamuna with all the setup of nice flower and so on. And he is not getting that. Where is Yamuna? So we are concerned about that pleasure that he is getting. If he is getting that, if you know that, then we are okay. Our only concern is that he is not happy.
Correct. Yes, that is. Yes, right. They're very much interested in seeing whether Krishna is happy or not in Mathura. And so that is their main concern. And so they feel that Krishna is not actually happy. Yes, good point. That is the quality of selfless love. Yes.
Yesterday, in one discussion, we have got to the conclusion that gopis were always in separation. Even when Krishna was present personally with them, even then also they were feeling separation from Krishna. And when Krishna now has gone far, they are feeling more separation. They were always in separation. That separation, the love in separation was a problem that Krishna wanted to show to Uddhava.
Right. Good.
When Uddhava was about to leave, that unkind other gods, they explained that the body is engaged with the Lord, and towards although they are fully Krishna conscious, he says that they think fully, but as a devotee is always open, and he always feels that Prajiva is
Correct.
satisfied.
Yes, good point. No.
Spiritual relation only Krishna, the Australian, there is separation. There will be separation. In the immediate they enter into Dasya Bhav. That's how he gave different examples. Chakadagar, Nanda Maharaj, and Radharani, and I don't go past, I don't remember the example. The separation with utter humility,
Yes.
mode of servant, they pray to Krishna.
Right. Yes. Good point.
Hare Krishna. So when the Uddhavji delivered the message of Lord Krishna to gopis, and when by seeing the gopis' devotion, although Uddhavji is a disciple of Brahaspati, so Jnana is there, everything, but after seeing the exalted devotion of the gopis, he surrendered himself, accepted the glories of the devotion, and he accepted a servitorship and want to serve the gopis. Just a extreme transformation by seeing the devotion.
Right. Good. So therefore it is always advisable to associate with more advanced devotees. So if we don't associate, then we will think I am the best. So but if we associate with those who are more advanced, then that will automatically humble us, and then we will aspire for higher levels of devotion. Yes.
We should be closer to Krishna through the mind, but not may not be closer externally. So we have to think about Krishna, and our mind should become a devotee. And mentally we have to be closer. So gopis were closer to Krishna through mentally.
Right.
So that's why Krishna was externally is far from gopis.
Yes, so that the minds could be absorbed. Good.
In the message of Krishna to the gopis, there's a lot of philosophical, apparently it is very philosophical, but there's a very deeper meaning where Krishna, the same message which he has given in Bhagavad Gita is now being reflected, but has a deeper inner meaning which Acharya was showing that how it is actually everything is, I am in everything, so I am in your hearts also, I have stolen your heart. So Krishna, through Acharyas actually we can understand those deeper meanings. Towards the last, as Prabhuji was saying also, there's a danyata which comes in the heart of a devotee who has a love. Love naturally brings out danyata, and because of which they wish to serve more and more. That's how all examples were there. Radharani, or every mellow people want to serve more. Dasata is there.
So therefore the symptom of jnana, the symptom of real knowledge, which of course we're talking about realized knowledge. So more the realization, more the love, more the humility. And therefore Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter verses 8 to 12, describing the symptoms of jnana, what is he saying? Yes, amanamitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, arjavam. So one who actually has knowledge should exhibit those symptoms. That is the sign of love. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada always said Krishna consciousness is a science. So one cannot fool around. So science means everything, there's theory, and the theory can be put into practice, and the results can be demonstrated. That is science. And so therefore, everything becomes very clear. One cannot falsely claim anything. Yes.
Yesterday you were telling about externally we practice Gaudiya Siddhanta as a sadhaka, but internally we may have that kind of relish of particular rasa with the...
That's Raganuga Bhakti.
Raganuga Bhakti.
Yes, on the Raganuga
So, no matter how much advanced one may be, externally he has to practice sadhana.
Yes, the sadhana remains. And that's what our acharyas have shown. We find Rupa Goswami, he was chanting a fixed number of rounds every day. All the Goswamis. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Nativi. So Sankhya Purvak. So they were chanting a fixed number of rounds. All the Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, offering fixed number of obeisances, Raghunath Das Goswami. So they're practicing all the angas of sadhana bhakti, even though they were on the most exalted platform. So that's the meaning of real love. Who wants to speak? Okay.
Hare Krishna. You were mentioning, Prabhuji, about we don't like in that section of Gopis, Uddhava becoming Gulmadata also, and later also, how Nanda Maharaj was praying to Uddhav that they were mental functions and all. So we don't want to become great devotees. We want to become good devotees. You're mentioning there.
Right. Okay, fine. So now we'll proceed ahead with chapter 48. Krishna pleases his devotees. So the title itself is quite amazing. So the devotees are always trying to please Krishna, but Krishna also wants to please his devotees. That's reciprocation. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Okay, text 1. Shri Shukla Uvacha Ata Vijnaya Bhagavan Sarvatma Sarvadarshanaha Sairandriya Kama Taptaya Priyam Icchan Griham Yayo. Shukdev Goswami said, next, after assimilating Uddhava's report, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the omniscient soul of all that be, desired to satisfy the serving girl Trivakra, who was troubled by lust. Thus he went to her house. Please read the purport.
This text gives an interesting insight into Lord's pastimes. The first line says, Atha Vijnaya Bhagavan. Thus the Lord understanding Uddhava's report. The second line states that Lord Krishna is the soul of everything, Sarvatma, and the seer of everything, Sarvadarshanaha. In other words, although he certainly does not depend on spoken reports from messengers, he plays the part of a human being and listens to news from a messenger, not out of need,
as we would do, but in the bliss of his spiritual pastimes, exchanging love with his pure devotee. The word Sarvadarshinaha also indicates that the Lord perfectly understood the feelings of residents of Raj and was perfectly reciprocating with them within their hearts. Now in his external pastimes, he desired to bless Srimati Trivakra, who was about to be freed from the disease of material lust.
Okay. So I would like to read from Krishna book. Srila Prabhupada brings out some important points. For days together, Krishna heard from Uddhav all the details of his visit to Vrindavan, especially the condition of his father and mother and of the gopis and the cowherd boys. Lord Krishna was fully satisfied that Uddhav was able to solace them by his instructions and by the message delivered to them. Lord Krishna then decided to go to the house of Kubja, the hunchback woman who had pleased him by offering him sandalwood pulp when he was entering the city of Mathura. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna always tries to please his devotees as much as the devotees try to please Krishna. So which verse in the Bhagavad Gita? Ye yathamam prapadam. As the devotees always think of Krishna within their hearts, Krishna also thinks of his devotees within himself. When Kubja was converted into a beautiful society girl, she wanted Krishna to come to her place so that she could try to receive and worship him in her own way. Society girls generally try to satisfy their clients by offering their bodies for the men to enjoy. But this society girl Kubja was actually captivated by a lust to satisfy her senses with Krishna. When Krishna desired to go to the house of Kubja, he certainly had no desire for sense gratification. Okay, so he never had any desire. By supplying the sandalwood pulp to Krishna, Kubja had already satisfied his senses. On the plea of her sense gratification, however, he decided to go to her house, not actually for sense gratification, but to turn her into a pure devotee. Okay, so that was the intention. Krishna is always served by many thousands of goddesses of fortune, therefore he has no need to satisfy his senses by going to a society girl. But because he is kind to everyone, he decided to go there. It is said that the moon does not withhold its shining from the courtyard of a crooked person. Similarly, Krishna's transcendental mercy is never denied to anyone who has rendered service unto him, whether through lust, anger, fear, or pure love. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that if one wants to serve Krishna and at the same time wants to satisfy his own lusty desires, Krishna will handle the situation so that the devotee forgets his lusty desires and becomes fully purified and constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. So I'm sure most of us may recollect those verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Recently they were discussed in a Bhagavatam class also. Correct? Ami vigya ei murka vishakena dhiva swachannamridhya vishay bhulaiva. So that is how Krishna handles the devotees who have some desires. Okay, so that's what Prabhupada is explaining. So Srila Prabhupada is always very careful to make sure that people get the right understanding. And so therefore, somebody may think, oh, Krishna also is lusty, it looks like. So therefore he makes the point very clear. No, it's not that Krishna is lusty, but he wants to make her devotee. That was his main intention of going to Kubja's house. Okay. Text 2. We'll Okay, somebody can read translation and purport. Pass the mic.
Trivakra's home was opulently appointed with expensive furnishings and replete with sensual accoutrements meant to inspire sexual desire. There were banners, rows of strung pearls, canopies, fine beds, and sitting places, and also fragrant incense, oil lamps, flower garlands, and aromatic sandalwood paste. Purport. According to Sridhar Swami, the sensual accoutrements in Trivakra's house included explicit sexual pictures. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds that her paraphernalia included herbal
aphrodisiacs.
What is this? I don't know. It is not hard to guess Trivakra's intention, yet Lord Krishna went there to save her from material existence.
Aphrodisiac means it increases sexual desire with some herbs.
Okay. You can pass the mic. You can continue reading.
When Trivakra saw him arriving at her house, she at once rose from her seat in a flurry. Coming forward graciously with her girlfriends, she respectfully greeted Lord Achyuta by offering him an excellent seat and other articles of worship. Uddhava also received a seat of honor since he was a saintly person, but he simply touched it and sat on the floor. Then Lord Krishna, imitating the manners of human society, quickly made himself comfortable on an opulent bed. Purport. According to the Acharyas, Uddhava felt reverence for his Lord and thus declined to sit on an opulent seat in his presence. Rather, he touched the seat with his hand and sat on the floor. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti adds that Lord Krishna made himself comfortable on a bed located in the inner chambers of Trivakra's home.
So Vishwanath Chakravarti he writes, Uddhav felt that it was improper for him as Krishna's servant to sit on a seat offered by the hand of his beloved. After touching the asan with his hand in order to honor her offer, he then sat on the floor. Krishna then lay on a bed in an inner room. Okay. So you can see how these elevated devotees also are so conscious of etiquettes. So this is one of the hallmarks of a Vaishnava. The bhushana, the decoration of a Vaishnava is what? Following of Vaishnava etiquettes. Who tells this? The decoration, the abhushan of a Vaishnava is the following of Vaishnava etiquettes. Who says to whom? Yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. So he tells that the real decoration of Vaishnava is the following of Vaishnava etiquettes. So Vaishnava becomes decorated, he becomes beautiful when he appropriately follows etiquette. And so we can see the most exalted personalities, they also follow etiquette so carefully. So where else in the scriptures do we find such points of observance of Vaishnava etiquettes? Mike Dedon.
See, Uddhava dealing with Vidura, when Vidura wanted to hear what Krishna spoke, he told, Maitra is senior personalities here, he also had everything, so we better go to him. Why? He is senior personality, he is senior to him, and Vidura also senior to him, so better he can instruct Vidura.
Yes.
In his presence, when superior devotee is present, we should not instruct somebody in their presence.
Correct. The Prabhupada describes the point of Maryada Vyatikram.
Whenever Krishna meets the Pandavas, then first he bows to Yudhishthir, and then he hugs Arjuna, and then others bow to Krishna. And we keep hearing again and again. This, though they are so much intimate.
Yes. Yes. Even Krishna is so particular about following the etiquettes. Some other examples?
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Shri Chitapa.
When Chandrasekhara Acharya was offering new dhoti,
not dhoti, shawl,
clothes. So he asked him to give his used and old clothes to wear, and also he was not ready to take. And also the shawl also, Lord was not comfortable, so he gave it up.
Right. Okay.
This statement, like as you said, that the ornaments of the Vaishnavas are that is real Vaishnava etiquette. So that pastimes, when Sanatana Goswami used to take the road towards Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gambhira, from the ocean side. So he does not want to touch the pujaris.
Right. So he was so conscious that he has a skin disease, and so he should not by mistake touch the pujaris, otherwise they'll be contaminated. And he was ready to go through that torturous, painful experience of walking on the hot, sandy beach in a summer like this. Yes, in Jagannath Puri. I remember in Jagannath Puri once, something like 8 a.m., when the sun was just rising, the sand is already burning. And what to speak of mid-afternoon sun. So therefore his feet were full of blisters. Okay, online, any examples?
Govinda not crossing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When it comes to service, he does it. But when it's for his personal thing, he doesn't do.
Right. So we know the past now, Govinda and Chaitanya. Yes, Balwant.
I was hesitating to tell about Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya keeping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on an elevated seat because probably till that time he was not a proper Vaishnava. So I don't know. You can correct if it is correct to say that.
What? This is before Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya became a devotee?
Yes, yes.
So then what happened?
He kept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on an elevated seat, and then he started telling him about Vedanta philosophy, but then he became a devotee. So probably this is not a Vaishnava etiquette, but it's an etiquette probably.
No, it was proper, no?
Yeah.
Because he was treating Mahaprabhu as a sannyasi.
Yes. Yeah.
As a sannyasi, he gave elevated seat.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Continuing the same example, although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sannyasi and Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya speaking Mayavad, still Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard everything from him. For to paint his heart or soften his heart.
For how many days?
7 days.
Yes, 7 days. Without arguments.
Prabhuji, when Viduraji, Uddhavji approach, Vidur approached to Uddhava for knowledge, he refers to the Maitreya. He said he is.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
When Menaka mountain was there, so that time he just touched as honor and respect, and then he didn't wait, he just passed on.
Right, he didn't want to rest before his mission accomplished.
Yeah, you Govinda's example which he gave, but I am just trying to understand the etiquette here because Uddhava spoke very deep, profound wisdom to Vidura. And one point of time he said that, you approach a senior. So what is the etiquette here? Because it's not that he would have told initially only, Prabhu. You are like...
No, initially...
So what is etiquette here?
Initially he was just remembering pastimes of Krishna, isn't it? Initially he was just remembering pastimes of Krishna. He did not speak about the knowledge which he received from Krishna when Krishna was leaving the world. And then when Vidura specifically asked for that knowledge which Krishna spoke as he was leaving, then Vidura said, at that time Maitreya was also present. And that knowledge was also heard by Maitreya. So therefore he said, Maitreya is equally qualified to speak, and therefore you go to him. But before that what he spoke was simply remembrance of Krishna's pastimes.
Not a Siddhanta he just spoke Leela, or that's why there is like a junior person is telling, because he pacified him, right? Means he was completely in great turmoil of his emotions, that he just heard about the Pravash issue and he was in mad actually. And he inquired, and so he got pacified simply by hearing the pastimes, or did he speak some?
So that is then, and the beginning of the third canto is there.
So he did speak Siddhanta, that's what I'm telling.
No, there's not much Siddhanta. Basically he is remembering pastimes of Krishna.
So that pacified him.
Remembrance of Krishna.
So here what principle we can bring, because he is a junior, means junior in the sense of age and devotion. Prabhupada says devotionally he is more. So what we can learn here, because...
So that's what Prabhupada is writing in that purport there, that the essential Siddhanta, the etiquette there is that one must not instruct another person in the presence of someone senior to us, just for the sake of fame, adoration. So when somebody is more senior and is available to give instructions, then we must direct someone to him. So that's the etiquette Prabhupada is explaining.
There's a word called Maryada Vyatikaran.
Yes, Maryada Vyatikrama. Vyatikrama means to transgress Maryada or the etiquettes.
Can we give this example that even Maharaj Yudhishthir never disrespected his uncle Dhritarashtra, he overlooked all his wrongs.
Yes.
And
yes.
This could be also an example.
Yes, that's true. He never disrespected. Even Prahlad Maharaj never disrespected his father, even though he never followed him. But still he always spoke and behaved respectfully with him.
Ishwar Puri also. When Ishwar Puri and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu book editing work was given.
Correct.
Then he followed etiquette.
Right. Mahaprabhu refused to take that book to edit. Ishwar Puri gave that book, and then... No, I think so later Mahaprabhu took it, right? And then he suggested some change also, but then Ishwar Puri said, no, what I had written is correct. Yes. Four Kumaras and Prithu Maharaj. So?
When they came, he respected the wisdom seat.
Okay, how Prithu Maharaj respected the four Kumaras, yes.
He was giving lecture as immediately they came.
Correct, yes. So throughout the scripture, yes, okay.
So, don't surpass Swami.
Okay. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vallabhacharya. So
Durvasa and Ambarish also. Ambarish did not, though he was so powerful, he did not go against Durvasa. He respected his position.
Okay, Ambarish. Yes, that's correct. Yes, so Vallabhacharya, he came with his commentary of the Bhagavatam and told Mahaprabhu, I have written a commentary which is better than that of Sridhar Swami. And then Mahaprabhu sarcastically chastised him by saying, one who does not follow the Swami is a prostitute. Right, so throughout the scripture we find so many different examples of following of Maryada etiquettes. And also we find examples in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This was Murari Gupta, right? Who did not offer obeisances to Nityanand Prabhu. He directly offered obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then they appeared in the dream. So like that, we find so many examples of how etiquette is a very important part of a Vaishnava's lifestyle. Why? Why is this observance of etiquette important?
It breeds humility.
How?
By offering the respect for that particular position in that situation.
Okay, that's right. It brings
Though the person in position, higher position, may be sometimes wrong.
Okay, fine. Okay, correct.
Not following etiquette is a sign of pride.
Yes, not following etiquette is a sign of pride. Okay.
We treat devotees as a representative of the Lord. So, as we respect or the way we behave with devotees, we are going to behave with the Lord. So,
correct. Yes, the devotees are representatives of the Lord. The way we treat them is how we are actually treating the Lord. Sakshat Daritve na samasta shastra.
Look towards them with a material eye.
Right. If we don't follow the etiquettes, our perception and vision becomes materialistic. Good.
When we follow the etiquette of respect and all, then the person who was receiving, he will become open-minded to receive.
Receive what?
Receive the superior's instruction. Like that.
Okay, if the proper etiquette is followed, then the person becomes open to receive instructions. Okay, good. That's right.
Because Mahaprabhu said that is ornament, so that goes to show that it will please the Supreme Lord.
Correct. Yes. Ultimately, it will be pleasing to Guru and Krishna.
Sometimes, true.
Yes, go ahead.
Sometimes we may not be having genuine feelings of love and affection, even for some senior devotees. But when we still follow etiquettes, we'll be prevented from any offenses.
Right. That's a good point. Yes. So offenses can be avoided by following the etiquettes. Yes. Good.
By offering proper respect to the senior personalities, so their heart becomes softened to show mercy upon that person who is have proper etiquette.
Yes.
That is the mercy of the senior personalities.
Correct.
Vaishnavas.
This is 1.1.8, if I'm not mistaken. Sutta Goswami's qualifications. Snigdasya Shishyasya. So there in that purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that because of the good qualities and the proper behavior, then the saintly persons become obliged to reveal secrets, guhyam, to reveal the confidential knowledge by satisfying the senior persons. So many benefits are there of following the etiquettes, and of course if one does not follow the etiquette, so many offenses, so many disastrous consequences, so many examples in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So therefore following of the etiquettes is very important and can never be neglected. Again, so all these are to be always practiced, not that only junior devotees should practice. As one becomes senior, no need to practice. No, it's not like that. Here we find the most exalted personalities. They're all perfected Siddha devotees, Mahabhagavats, but yet they are following. Why? Because that is what will please the Lord. So that means as one becomes senior, one's eagerness to please the Lord must increase more and more, not decrease. So therefore, what are the symptoms of Mahatma? Bhagavad Gita? Next verse, 9.14. Satudam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavratah namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. So yatantascha Dridhavrataha, in that purport Prabhupada is explaining, the Mahatmas follow all rules and regulations with great determination. That is why he is Mahatma. Not that now I become Mahatma, now no need to follow anything. No, that is not Mahatma. So, these are all very important points. So, just like, these days it is so common. Most devotees don't come before the speaker comes. Even if a sannyasi is giving class, devotees come coolly. Is it the proper etiquette? What do you think? What's the proper etiquette? That's the etiquette. Not that the teacher or the speaker comes first and then there are 2-3 people sitting. Now we may speak so many things on the Vyasasana, we may speak philosophy, but then the etiquette has to be practiced. If the etiquette is not practiced, then we can't make much progress. That's the whole point. So ultimately again, it depends on each one of us. Every one of us has to take responsibility. So not this herd mentality. You know herd mentality? Bedia. You know Bedia? सब लेट जाते हैं, सब लेट, हम भी लेट जाते हैं. That philosophy doesn't apply. Everyone is responsible for his own life. And so, in fact, as we become senior, then we have to become even more responsible. Why? Why? Exactly. To set the right example for others. It's an added responsibility. We are not only responsible for our own lives, but we have an added responsibility of setting the right example. So if we don't set the right example, then what will the juniors learn? What can we expect of them if we ourselves don't set the right example? So it's not about simply some degrees, Bhakti Vedanta and this and that. It's not simply about theoretical knowledge. The knowledge has to be put into practice. Then it has meaning. Then it turns into realization. Otherwise it will become dry philosophy. Nothing more than that. But then if we actually want to please Krishna, then we have to follow in the footsteps of these great souls who are showing through their example the proper etiquettes. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in that famous verse to the Sanodia Brahmin, which one? Dharma sthapana hetu sadhura vyavahar. The principles of religion are established by the behavior of a sadhu. Those common people don't understand what is dharma, what is not dharma. They cannot understand. How to practice dharma, they can't understand. From whom will they learn? They learn from the sadhus. If the sadhu does not set the right example, then what can we expect others to learn? So all these things are very important. It's not simply about some theoretical knowledge. It's not dry philosophy. Vaishnavism is much deeper than dry philosophy. The entire principle of Vaishnavism is how to please Guru and Krishna. That's the standard. It's not about how much I know or how much I do not know. That's not the standard. So, all these things are very important. Therefore, as senior devotees, setting the right example, very important. As Srila Prabhupada has written right in the preface to the Bhagavatam, very important sentence. What? The Srimad Bhagavatam is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. It's a cultural presentation. And so therefore, the culture of the Bhagavatam cannot be separated from the philosophy of the Bhagavatam. One cannot say, no, I will just take the philosophical part and neglect the cultural aspect. This is the cultural aspect that we are focusing on here. And throughout the Bhagavatam we find that culture. Right in the first canto, right in the beginning, what were the dealings between Narad Muni and Vyasadeva? You can see that culture there. Narad Muni, spiritual master, is addressing Vyasadeva as Yes, Prabhu. He is addressing the disciple as Prabhu. And speaking on that, Srila Prabhupada says, just like we address our disciple, His Holiness Kirtananand Maharaj. Prabhupada is giving an example. Prabhupada was so respectful to his own disciples. So throughout the Bhagavatam we see that culture. Because if the culture is not followed, then Vaishnavism has no meaning. Why do you think people lost faith in Vaishnavism after the disappearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? There were many people claiming to know the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But what was the problem? Huh? Exactly. Questionable character. So the character became so degraded of the so-called followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, people said we don't want to have anything to do with these Vaishnavas, so-called Vaishnavas. And that's how everything just collapsed. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur had to revive the whole thing. Why? Therefore Mahaprabhu made that important statement, Dharma Sthapan Hetu Sadhu Prabhyava. And you can read, Srila Prabhupada is going to elaborate purport to that verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, these are all very important points because that's how people develop trust in devotees, devotees develop trust in other devotees. This is a big question mark these days. How to develop trust and faith. And trust and faith develops when there is character, when there is good behavior. That's how faith and trust develops. And so therefore, as senior devotees, this is a very big responsibility. And it's very important. So we ourselves, if senior devotees themselves are not very serious to come to the class, be enthusiastic to listen, sitting somewhere in the ashram, listening online, even though the ashram is 2 feet away from the class. So, we simply set a bad example, others will follow the same, and we will be doing a big disservice. disservice to ourselves and disservice to other Vaishnavas. So as one becomes senior, so recently so many got Brahman initiation, saffron. All this is not simply a show. It's not just a status symbol. One has to think about it. What is expected? Otherwise the whole culture will become degraded in time. And then at certain point of time, things will become irreparable. Cannot be repaired. As well as Jayavit Maharaj in his book on Kirtan standards. So he writes, so now there are some things which have become so much a part of the system that people say, we've been doing this for ages. So that's what happens. When the wrong things just keep on happening and the wrong thing is the right thing and the right thing is the wrong thing. That's what happens. It's all based on the culture. When one understands the value of the culture, what is the purpose of that culture, then one will uphold the culture. And as a fact, but when we were attending brahmachari classes, not that I'm boasting or something, but it's plain simple fact. In Kunj Bihari early days, when we would attend brahmachari class, there was no question of coming even 1 second late. 1 second late. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. Literally, there was no question of coming even 1 second late. So that means we were always before time. And that was the culture. And some of us who were in the culture, then you can still see some remnants of that. But now, any class, whether it's a Bhagavatam class or a Brahmachari class, speaker comes, there are 2-3 people sitting there. Why? Now this has become the culture. And so this has become the culture. Everyone thinks this is the norm. This is the culture. This has become the culture. Is it the proper etiquette? But the wrong etiquette has now become the right etiquette. And those who come on time, okay, they have no better business to do, therefore they go on time. So, upholding the Vaishnava culture is whose responsibility? Yes, it's our responsibility, collective responsibility. Once in Mayapur, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj was giving Bhagavatam class, and the standard is, as soon as the class gets over, as soon as question answers begin, half of the audience stands up to leave. And then it just creates a whole disturbance in the class. So Maharaj, he openly said it. He said, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly what he said. But he openly expressed his displeasure. And he said, what type of etiquette is this? You are in the class, then you wait for the entire class to finish. And if you have some urgent work to do or something, then you sit near the door and then without disturbing anyone, you leave. His Honor's His Grace Radha Gopinath Prabhu, when he began his class on devotee care over here, the first thing which he said, he was recollecting, actually both of us did TTC together in Mayapur, where His Grace Rasamandal Prabhu, Prabhupada's disciple from Britain, he was teaching us. So his policy was, everyone has to come on class on time. If someone is not able to come due to some reason, then he should send a message through another devotee, a written message through another devotee as to why he would not be able to come on time. And we actually saw these things happening. So if somebody was not able to come, he would give a written letter, send it through some other devotee. That time there was not all these mobile and email and all that. So a written message, he would send it through some other devotee. That devotee would give it to Rasamandal Prabhu, and before beginning the class, Rasamandal Prabhu would read out, such and such devotee is not able to come to class on time because of this and this reason. That was the standard. Radha Gopinath Prabhu was recollecting that when he began his class. So, this is all part of Vaishnava culture. And the more we follow this culture, the more Krishna conscious we can become. It is not simply about philosophy. The culture has to be inbuilt within the philosophy. Otherwise, everything becomes cheap. We attend class because I have to, what to do. So therefore, okay, go sometime go to the class, okay. 50% of the class is over, no problem. Just show your face and come. Will one learn with such an attitude? Can one learn? Is that Vaishnava culture? So we have to understand, nobody else is the loser. Who is the loser? We ourselves are the loser. But the important point is, we ourselves are the loser, no doubt, but we are causing a great, or we are doing a great disservice to all the new devotees who are coming. We are doing a great disservice. We are showing to them that this is Vaishnava culture. And please follow the same. That is what we are preaching to them. And so therefore, we are specifically spending a little more time on this point, because this is something which is very important as devotees. So the more we uphold this, we set the right example, then others also will learn the proper etiquette and the proper standards, and that's how the whole community of Vaishnavas will grow. Otherwise, there will be a rapid degradation. Right. Anyone wants to add?
Yeah,
Prabhuji, one question from online.
Okay, please decide who wants to speak.
Prabhuji, thank you for your wonderful inputs actually. So we want to have some question. For example, if your Bhagavatam class should end at 9:10 and you have another class at 10:30, and if the class goes till 10 o'clock. So, and I want to sit ahead. Why should I sit behind? Because if I sit behind, I can't hear properly. And it is not that everyday class, the person who speaks ends at 9:10. He will end at 9:45, 9:30, 9:45, 10:45. What is this? We also have some body, na? We also have some regulated lifestyle. So the question is that we want to hear attentively, and we don't want to offend, but we also want to see that we don't get like we can't get up only. I have seen some people who were not able to attend Mangalarati, who were not able to do anything. They are supposed to take care of their body for 1 month because these things happen. Then where to draw the line?
Yes, so therefore, if there is a valid reason, there is no problem.
No, every day there is a reason only, na, Prabhuji.
No. So, as far as the Bhagavatam class is concerned, then it's understandable. So, beyond the stipulated time, then one has a right. Beyond stipulated time, then one has a right. That's fine. That's fine.
Because why we get upset now? If somebody, and now for ending class also. Now ending class is your ending class by 1 hour, 1.5 hours. We have also some schedule because we are not only the brahmacharis who don't have any job. You don't do any job. You just here I can do that, but you are given this responsibility, this responsibility, and then somebody has to follow the time now. If you start class 9 o'clock and at 2 o'clock, no problem. And every day change, not a single day ending on time. Then how to do that then?
Yes, so therefore, when there are stipulated times, that is fine. When there is a stipulated time, then beyond the stipulated time, then that is fine. That is understood. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, Prabhu, really appreciate that you bring this point out because I'm a yoga teacher out here and the same thing happens. And when we have said this, I'm going to share this there also. It's not just Vaishnav philosophy or etiquette, it's a human etiquette to be on time. And thank you really for this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I wanted to ask something very important regarding Srimad Bhagavatam. So when initially, the speaker, he is actually singing Jai Radha Madhav. Now, even before the speaker comes, we have to be sitting over there to keep our minds, cool and calm because we are inflicted by mode of passion and ignorance when we come from outside. And I didn't come before time. Why? Because I feel that, I cool my mind by, the Jai Radha Madhav. Now, what is the importance of we sitting even, before this Jai Radha Madhav, the speaker starts, singing this Jai Radha Madhav. Any specific importance for that, which I am not able to know or not understand, which will help me also and be more punctual in classes?
When one is, suppose it has been fasting till noon and lunch will be served at 12:30 p.m. and there has been fasting. So most people, I'm not saying all, so most people, when they would be eagerly waiting for the prasadam? Huh? Yes, so 5 minutes before itself, people will be waiting. Correct? So similarly, so just like when there is hunger for the stomach, then one is very eager to receive the food. So similarly, if one wants the spiritual messages to be digested, one needs to have spiritual hunger. And so, that spiritual hunger is depicted by how eager one is to hear. So, if the eagerness is there, then one will come on time, or at least, or maybe before time also, but at least on time. And it is not that we are showing that eagerness only to the speaker. Ultimately, to whom do we want to show our eagerness to?
Guru and Krishna?
Yes, Guru and Krishna. So by being on time, we are showing our eagerness to hear Krishna's message. How eager I am to hear Krishna's message. And then Krishna will reciprocate accordingly. So, when one is eager for something, then one will show that eagerness by one's physical activity. I never experienced this, but I hear from other devotees that when devotees go sometimes to Chaupati to hear His Holiness Rannath Swami Maharaj, so then the devotees are sitting in the temple hall for the class right from after Tulsi Aarti, Japa. They don't move out. They don't move out till the class comes to an end. There's no place to move out. Why? There's eagerness. So the eagerness is shown by the physical activity. It's not simply a mental state. Anyone can say, I'm eager. But the eagerness has to be shown by one's actions. And the actions speak louder than words. Okay, fine. I think so that's enough discussion on that point. Okay, so now it's time for a break. We'll take a 10 minutes break and continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So that was text 4. Okay, let's continue reading. Text 5.
Trivikra prepared herself by bathing, anointing her body, and dressing in fine garments, by putting on jewelry, garlands, and perfume, and also by chewing the bitter nut, drinking fragrant liquor, and so on. She then approached Lord Madhava with shy, playful smiles and coquettish glances. It is clear from this verse that the ways a woman prefers for sexual enjoyment have not changed in thousands of years.
Okay, next.
Calling forward his beloved, who was anxious and shy at the prospect of this new contact, the Lord pulled her by her bangled hands onto the bed. Thus he enjoyed with the beautiful girl, whose only trace of piety was her having offered ointment to the Lord. Purport. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that the words Nava Sangama here indicates that Trivikrama was in fact a virgin girl at this point. She had been a deformed hunchback, and Lord had recently transformed her into a beautiful girl. Therefore, although clearly lusting after Krishna, Sri Krishna, she was naturally shy and anxious.
So, you can read this? Sixth one.
The words fearful and new association, Nava Sangama, indicate for the less intelligent that Kubja had never been enjoyed by anyone else. Though she was beautiful, she was protected because of her hunchback. She had a small amount of credit because she had offering unguents to Krishna. But she did not have piles of credits like the sadhana siddhas among the Vraja women and Mathura women.
Right, so she was a virgin, as is being mentioned. She didn't actually enjoy with anyone else, though. But she was a prostitute, right?
Society girl.
Huh? Society girl, it's mentioned. But anyways, it's mentioned that she has not enjoyed with anyone else.
Here is less intelligent. What is the meaning of that? It indicates for the less intelligent
that Kubja had never been enjoyed by anyone else. So that means the less intelligent may think that Kubja, she was enjoyed by many other people. So he's saying that, so the point here, new association, Navasangam, indicates that this is for the first time she's actually enjoying with someone. So of course, so she got that good association with the Supreme Lord because of the credits of having offered sandalwood pulp to Krishna. Okay, continue.
Simply by smelling the fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet, Trivikra cleansed away the burning lust Cupid had aroused in her breasts, chest and eyes. With her two arms she embraced between her breasts her lover Sri Krishna, the personification of bliss, and thus she gave up her long-standing distress.
Continue.
She wiped away the pain of her breast, chest, and eyes by the touch of his feet and smelled
8th verse.
his feet.
Having thus gotten.
Having
Reading
thus-
from here. Okay, read from the Bhagavatam.
Having thus gotten the heart to get Supreme Lord by the simple act of offering him body ointment, unfortunate Tivakra submitted to that Lord of freedom the following request. Purport: according to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti, Srimati Trivakra prayed to the Lord, please enjoy only with me and not with any other woman, because Krishna was not prepared to grant such a benediction. Trivakra is described here as unfortunate. Sridhara Swami adds that although to ordinary eyes she seemed to beg for material sex pleasure, in fact she was a liberated soul at this point.
So she is being described as unfortunate. Durbaga. Why? Because she made a request which would not be fulfilled. So that is why she has been described as unfortunate. Okay, next.
9, text 9. Trivakra said, "O beloved, please stay here with me for a few days more and enjoy. I cannot bear to give up your association, O lotus-eyed one." Purport: the word Ambu means water and Ruha means rising. Thus, Ambruha means the lotus flower which rises up from the water. Lord Krishna is called Ambu Rukshana, the lotus-eyed one. He is the source and embodiment of all beauty, and naturally Trivikra was attracted to him. However, the Lord beauty is spiritual and pure, and his intention was not to gratify himself with Trivikra, but rather to bring her to the point of pure spiritual existence, Krishna consciousness.
10.
Promising her the fulfillment of his lusty desire, considerate Krishna, Lord of all beings, paid Trivikra his respects and then returned with Uddhava to his own supremely opulent residence. Purport: all the acharyas agree that the words Kamavaram Dattva indicate that Lord Krishna promised Trivikra he would fulfill her lusty desires.
Okay, can you read this also? 10.
Kamavaradatva gave her the desired benediction, means that he gave her full satisfaction of enjoyment, and that he kept his promise on first meeting her that he would fulfill her request. Even though she was a common woman, having fulfilled her desires and taking her permission, Manahitva, saying that he could not stay with her continually and enjoy. Because of local gossip he left. He left with Uddhava in order to prevent gossip, since Uddhava was a famous
everywhere, I think so.
everywhere as having the best conduct. From previous explanation, it should understood that she was an expansion of the Lord's Bhushakti.
Okay, 11th verse. Let's recite. Duraradhyam samaradhya Vishnum sarvareshwaram yo vrinite manograyam asatvat kumanishyasau. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord of all Lords, is ordinarily difficult to approach. One who has properly worshipped him and then chooses the benediction of mundane sense gratification is certainly of poor intelligence, for he is satisfied with an insignificant result. Purport:
It is clear from the commentaries of Acharyas that the story of Trivikra is to be understood on two levels. On the one hand, she is understood to be a liberated soul, directly associating with the Lord and participating in his pastimes. On the other hand, her conduct is clearly meant to teach a lesson about what not to do in relation with Lord Krishna. Since all of the Lord's pastimes are not only blissful but also didactic, that there is no real contradiction in this pastime, since Trivikra's purity and her bad example take place on two distinct levels. Arjuna is also considered a pure devotee, yet by initially disobeying Krishna's instruction to fight, he also showed an example of what not to do. However, such bad examples always have happy endings in the blissful association of the Absolute Truth, Sri Krishna.
Okay, read.
In relation to this incident, this verse gives instruction those persons worshipping the Lord in the role of a lover. That person who in worshipping Krishna prays for material happiness is a fool. However, with the intent to render pleasure to Krishna's senses completely, if one also gets happiness in the process, that is not a fault. It should be understood that only if the intense desire as a lover is directed with pure intent of service for pleasure of Krishna alone, does it destroys one's material desire and illusion.
Okay, so now let's read what Srila Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book. So as we read, by smelling the fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet, she was immediately relieved of all lusty desires. She was thus allowed to embrace Krishna with her arms and mitigate her long-cherished desire to have him as a visitor in her house. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that one must be freed of all material sinful reactions before one can engage in the transcendent loving service of the Lord. Which was? Yes, yesham tvandagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridavratah. Simply by supplying sandalwood pulp to Krishna, Kubja was thus rewarded. She was not trained to worship Krishna in any other way. Therefore, she wanted to satisfy him by her profession. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord can be worshipped even by one's profession if it is sincerely offered for the pleasure of the Lord. Which was? I was thinking of this verse, Yat karoshi yavashnasi yajjo hoshid. You, some other verse? Huh? Okay, fine. Okay, that is also indicating. Yeah. 18th chapter, that verse also is correct. That Krishna is saying, okay, whatever be your varna, ashram, you can worship. Yes. Okay, fine. So, it is confirmed that the Lord can be worshipped even by one's profession if it is sincerely offered for the pleasure of the Lord. Kubja told Krishna, my dear friend, kindly remain with me for at least a few days and enjoy with me. My dear lotus-eyed friend, I cannot leave you immediately. Please grant my request. As stated in the Vedic versions, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has multi-potencies. According to expert opinion, Kubja represents the Bhu-Shakti potency of Krishna, just as Srimati Radharani represents his Chit-Shakti potency. Although Kubja requested Krishna to remain with her for some days, Krishna politely impressed upon her that it was not possible for him to stay. Krishna visits this material world occasionally, whereas his connection with the spiritual world is eternal. Krishna is always present either in the Vaikuntha planets or in the Golok Vrindavan planet. The technical term of his presence in the spiritual world is Aprakat Leela. After satisfying Kubja with sweet words, Krishna returned home with Uddhav. There is a warning in Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is not very easily worshipped, for he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief among the Vishnu Tattvas. To worship Krishna or have association with him, it is not very easy. Specifically, there is a warning for devotees attracted to Krishna through conjugal love. It is not good for them to desire sense gratification by direct association with Krishna. Actually, the activities of sense gratification are material. In the spiritual world, there are symptoms like kissing and embracing but there is no sense gratificatory process as it exists in the material world. This warning is specifically for those known as Sahajiyas who take it for granted that Krishna is an ordinary human being. They desire to enjoy sex life with him in a perverted way. In a spiritual relationship, sense gratification is most insignificant. Anyone who desires a relationship of perverted sense gratification with Krishna must be considered less intelligent. His mentality requires to be reformed. Right. Okay, so one cannot enjoy with Krishna on the mundane platform. So the association with Krishna has to be on the spiritual platform. Now in the purport in the Bhagavatam to the 11th verse, it is being mentioned that the story can be understood on two levels. So on one hand, it is to be understood that she is a liberated soul and she is simply taking part in the Lord's pastimes. Otherwise, if she is not a liberated soul, how can she even take part in the Lord's pastimes? So, what is the understanding? How she is a liberated soul? Yes, Bhu Shakti. So she is actually Bhu Shakti, and so from that viewpoint, she is a liberated soul. She is Shakti of the Lord. And so she is just taking part in the Lord's pastimes as a liberated soul. So I heard this in a lecture from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So he says that, so yes, she is Bhu Shakti, and so she is representing Mother Earth. And the hunchback is because of all the demoniac kings and their sinful activities on earth. That's how he explains. So just like at that time we know, Mother Earth, burdened by all the demoniac kings, she went to Brahma, and we know that pastime. So here also he explains that the hunchback of Kubja was due to the demoniac kings. And of course then Krishna relieved her of that distress and turned her into a beautiful woman. Of course, he also gives another perspective of the pastime, and he says that similarly all of us, we also are ugly because of all our sinful activities and sinful reactions. But then when one comes in contact with Krishna and Krishna consciousness, then one actually becomes beautiful. When all the sinful reactions are nullified. So in any case, so here on one hand, so she is a liberated soul and she is simply taking part in the Lord's pastimes. But on the other hand, she is also teaching us something what one should not do. So therefore, he is explaining that every pastime can be seen from two aspects. One is, if you see it from an absolute viewpoint, then everything is perfect, because everything is for Krishna's enjoyment. Then we will not learn anything. Correct? If you see it from that viewpoint, that everything is perfect, everything was supposed to happen because it is all Krishna's pastime, then we cannot learn. So therefore he says, but also there is something didactic. So since all of the Lord's pastimes are not only blissful but also didactic. Didactic means something instructive. There is something instructive for us to learn. So therefore there is no real contradiction. So since Trivikrama's purity and her bad example take place on two distinct levels. So just like Arjuna. Arjuna is also liberated soul, eternal friend of Krishna. But still he behaved in that way for us to learn. So similarly, she is also acting in this way for us to learn what not to do. And then of course, we understand that because she did some small service to Krishna, therefore she became purified. And because she became purified by that service, then she became qualified to have such intimate association with Krishna. And then whatever traces of lust were remaining, that also became finally purified by the touch of Krishna's lotus feet. And so that's how ultimately our only hope in purification is to render some service. So by rendering service to Krishna, then one gets purified, and then as one gets purified, one becomes more and more intimate with Krishna, and then one renders more and more service, And then the more one becomes intimate to Krishna, then by Krishna's constant touch, then whatever traces of sinful reactions, sinful activities, sinful propensities, sinful desires, whatever is there, everything will be purified. So that is what we can learn. And of course, we also read from the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that it's also a warning to those who are sahajiyas that they cannot take association with Krishna cheaply on a material platform. And so one has to understand that such intimate association with Krishna is totally on a spiritual platform.
Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, there is warning in Bhagavatam how it's difficult to attain Krishna. It's reference, where is referring to? I don't remember.
The 11th verse.
This only.
This only.
Top.
Dunaradhyam samaradhya. Dunaradhyam samaradhya Vishnum. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord of all Lords, is ordinarily difficult to approach. In my understanding, that is what Prabhupada is referring to. Here only. I don't know if there is any other reference. There could be, but at least I don't remember.
Here, now she is again asking for Krishna to again come back.
Means stay for some more days.
Stay for some more days. Means her desire is purified or not? That is I am asking.
Definitely it is purified. But now she wants pure association of Krishna. So who does not want that? Every devotee wants, no? More association of Krishna. So for that reason she wants more association. Now she has become purified. Now she wants more association. So it's totally on the pure platform. She has become purified. It's not with any mundane lust. So therefore in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Kubja's so-called love is described as Kama Praya, almost lusty desire. So there is some prema also, but then there is a good amount of lust. So Kama Praya. Okay, fine. So that's the end of this pastime. And then now Krishna goes to Akrura from the next verse. Text well. Akrura bhavanam Krishna saha ramodhava prabhu kinchit chikirshayam pragad akrura priya kamyaya. Then Lord Krishna, wanting to have some things done, went to Akrura's house with Balram and Uddhav. The Lord also desired to please Akrura. So you can say Krishna is in the mode of pleasing his devotees. Purport: the previous incident of Lord Krishna's visit to Trivikra's house and now his visit to Akrura's gives a fascinating glimpse into the daily activities of Sri Krishna in Mathura city. Okay, continue reading please.
Akrura stood up in great joy when he saw them. His own relatives.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Akrura stood up in great joy when he saw them, his own relatives and the greatest of exalted personalities, coming from a distance. After embracing them and greeting them, Akrura bowed down to Krishna and Balram and was greeted by them in return. Then when his guests had taken their seats, he worshipped them in accordance with spiritual rules. Scriptural rules. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami points out that Lord Sri Krishna and the others approach Akrura in a friendly attitude. At first, Akrura reciprocated that friendly mood, and then in the course of showing them hospitality, he adopted his natural devotional attitude toward the Lord and thus offered his obeisances to Sri Krishna and Sri Balram.
Okay, so here also we can see the way in which the greetings are taking place and the proper attitude and behavior between all these personalities. Okay, text 15, 16.
O king, Akrura bathed the feet of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram and then poured the Ved water on his head. He presented them with gifts of fine clothing, aromatic sandalwood paste, flower garlands and excellent jewelry. After thus worshipping the two lords, he bowed his head to the floor. He then began to massage the Lord Krishna's feet, placing them on his lap. And with his head bowed in humility, he addressed Lord Krishna and Balaram as follows.
Okay, so now there are a series of prayers which Akrura is offering to Krishna and Balaram. Okay, 17. Dishtya papo hata kamsa sanugo vamidam kulam bhavadbhyam udrutam krishrat durantacha sameditam. Okay, you read the translation.
Akrura said, "It is our good fortune that you two lords have killed the evil Kamsa and his followers, thus delivering your dynasty from endless suffering and causing it to flourish."
Text 18. Yuvam pradana purusho jagaddetu jaganmayo bhavadbhyam na vina kinchit param asti na chaparam. Online devotees can read?
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Okay, read.
You both are the original Supreme Person, the cause of the universe and its very substance. Not the slightest subtle cause or manifest product of creation exists apart from you. After praising Krishna and Balram for having saved their dynasty, Akrura now points out that the Lord actually has no mundane connection with any social or political institution. He is the original personality of Godhead performing his pastimes for the benefit of the entire universe.
Okay, so somebody can read this commentary here. They can read?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read.
Okay, read the commentary.
You have protected this dynasty and increased its prosperity. It is not surprising since the whole universe belongs to you. The dual case is used because the Lord appears in two forms. You are the Pradhana and you are the Purusha. You are the cause, Jagadhetu, and you are the effect, Jaganmayo. By negation, Akrura expresses the same idea. Without you, there is no cause and no effect.
Okay, so this is all again Krishna's Aishwarya Gyan. He is both the Pradhan, the Purusha, he is the cause, the effect. Previous verse he is talking about how they have protected the dynasty by killing Kamsa. Okay, 19. Atmasrishtam idam vishvam anvavishya swashaktibhi iyate bahuda brahman shruta pratyaksha gocharam. Okay, somebody else can read online.
O Supreme Absolute Truth, with your personal energies you create this universe and then enter into it. Thus, one can perceive you in many different forms by hearing from authorities and by direct experience. Purport: the grammatical agreement of Shruta Pratyaksha Gocharam in the neuter case with Atma Shrishtam Idam Vishwam indicates that the Supreme Lord, by entering his creation with his potencies, makes himself perceivable within the universe. Throughout the Bhagavatam and other authorized Vedic literature, we often find descriptions of the Lord's simultaneously supremacy over all other things and his identity with them. We cannot reasonably draw any other conclusion from Vedic literature than the one powerfully preached by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achintya Bheda Ved Tattva. That is, the absolute truth is greater than and distinct from everything, since he is the omnipotent creator and controller of all, and simultaneously one with everything, since all that exists is the expansion of his own power. Throughout these chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, we also observe one of the unique, extraordinary features of this great work. Whether Krishna is sending his message to the gopis or accepting the prayers of Akrura, there is constant philosophical discussion. Throughout the Bhagavatam, the steady combination of fascinating pastimes with persistent spiritual philosophy is an extraordinary feature. We are we are allowed to glimpse and even to relish the spiritual emotions of the Lord and his liberated associates. And yet we are constantly reminded of their ontological position, lest we lapse into a cheap anthropomorphic vision. Thus, it is entirely in character with the work that Akrura, in his ecstasy, glorifies the Lord with precise philosophical prayers.
Quite interesting. So always there's a combination of pastime and philosophy. And of course, Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book adds a little more philosophy so that no one is bewildered by the pastime. So one gets the proper understanding. And so here, so therefore, of course, all this philosophy is basically the Aishwarya Gyan. So it's glorification of Krishna and his Aishwarya. That is basically what is being done. Somebody see dictionary meaning?
Branch of metaphysics concerned with the nature of a being.
Nature of the being. Where is it? Where is this exactly? Combination of fascinating pastimes with persistent spiritual. Relish the spiritual emotions of the Lord and his liberation, and yet we are constantly reminded of their ontological position. Yes, ontological position means their true positions. Yes, original position. So otherwise, if the philosophy is not taken into consideration, then one may think, okay, Krishna is also an ordinary person like all these people. So therefore, because Krishna, as we just saw, Krishna is also, he's acting like an ordinary human being, he's offering obeisances, he's embracing. So it appears as if he's an ordinary human being, right? So therefore, then when we hear the philosophy, so here when we hear Akrura glorifying Krishna, then we know that Krishna is different from all the other personalities. So by this one can understand the actual positions, that is made of ontological. Reminded of their ontological position, lest we lapse into cheap anthropomorphic vision. Anthropomorphic means everyone is the same. What is the exact translation? Anthropomorphism. Yes. So, thinking that the Lord is also an ordinary human being. So to prevent that from happening, then the Bhagavatam keeps reminding us that even though Krishna is behaving as an ordinary human being, but his position is special. So these prayers help us to understand that. That is what is said. Okay. Okay, this is all covered over here. Text 20. Yada hi bhuteshu charachareshu mayyadayo yonishu bhanti nana evam bhavan kevala atmayonishu atmakmatantro bahuda vibhati. Just as the primary elements, earth and so on, manifest themselves in the abundant variety among all the species of mobile and immobile life, so you, the one independent supreme soul, appear to be manifold among the variegated objects of your creation. So I think so this is simple philosophy. Text 21. Srujasyatholoam pasipasi vishvam rajastama sattva-gune svashakti-bhi nabhadyase tad guna-karma bhirva jnanat manaste kvacha bandha hetuhu. Okay, somebody read translation.
You create, destroy and also maintain this universe with your personal energies, the modes of passion, ignorance and goodness. Yet you are never entangled by these modes or the activities they generate. Since you are the original source of all knowledge, what could ever cause you to be bound by illusion. The phrase Jnanatmanas te kvacha bandha hetu. Since you are constituted of knowledge, what could be a cause of bondage for you? Definitely indicates the obvious that the omniscient Supreme God is never in illusion. Therefore, the impersonalistic theory that we are all God but have forgotten and are now in illusion is refuted here in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the purport to Avajananti Mam Mudha Manusham Tanamashrutam, there Srila Prabhupada gives a very logical point. He says, quoting Deveshu Gunamai Mammai Durataya, Mamaiva Prapadinde Mayamatama. So he says that by surrendering to the Supreme Lord, one becomes free from illusion. Then how can the Supreme Lord himself be in illusion? Again, logical point. So the same point is being said here also. The Supreme Lord, He is the source of the three modes, but He is never influenced by three modes and He is never put into illusion. Okay, read this. 21.
Therefore, you are the one Supreme Lord of the universe. You are not bound up like the jivas by karma and the gunas of sattva, rajas and tama. Why am I not bound up? As you are the very form of knowledge, Parabrahman, what is the question of being bound up by ignorance? You do not have ignorance like the jiva.
The jiva. Okay. 22. Dehagibadir anuripattatvad bhavo na sakshana vidatmanasyat ato na bandhastavanaiva moksha syatam nikamastvayino virtaha.
Since it has never been demonstrated that you are covered by material bodily designations, it must be concluded that for you there is neither birth in a literal sense nor any duality. Therefore you never undergo bondage or liberation. And if you appear to, it is only because of your desire that we see you in that way, or simply because of our lack of discrimination. Or what? Here Akrura states two reasons why the Lord appears to be covered by material form or to take birth like a human being. First, when Lord Krishna executes his pastimes, his loving devotees think of him as their beloved child, friend, lover, and so on. In the ecstasy of this loving reciprocation, they do not think of Krishna as God. For example, because of her extraordinary love for him, Mother Yashoda worries that Krishna will be injured in the forest. That she feels this way is the desire of the Lord, which is here indicated by the word Nikamaha. The second reason Lord may appear material is indicated by the word Avivekaha, simply because of ignorance, lack of discrimination. One may misunderstand the position of the personality of Godhead. In the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, in the Lord Krishna's discussion with Sri Uddhava, the Lord elaborately discusses his transcendental position beyond bondage and liberation. As stated in Vedic literature, Deha Dehi Vibhavo Yam Neshware Vidyate Kvachit. There is a never distinction of body and soul in the Supreme Lord. In other words, Shri Krishna's body is eternal, spiritual, omniscient, and the reservoir of all pleasure.
Okay, you can read this.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But if I have no ignorance in me, then where does this body of mine, a product of ignorance, came from? Your body is not designated as coming from ignorance by those who have knowledge of the scriptures. Therefore, you do not have birth like the jivas, na bhavaha. If your body appears to be material, it is only an appearance of birth like the jivas, since you are actually independent. As you do not have a material body born of ignorance, you do not have birth from the father's semen. Rather, your birth is just your appearance, avirbhav. There is no difference between body and soul of you, unlike the jiva. Your body is you, as proved by the statement, in the Lord there is no difference between the body and the soul. Since you are Brahman, Transcendental to knowledge and ignorance, there is no bondage or liberation for you. But I was bound up to the mortar by Mother Yashoda and escaped from the lake of Kalia. Let that be, Satyam. As such, bondage and liberation are not forbidden for you. Why do you accept bondage and liberation? It is because of our desire, the desire of your devotees, Nikamaha. We desire these incidences because they are worthy of meditation. In full knowledge, Vivekaha, you enact this bondage and liberation as your and beyond the influence of Maya. For one who is knowledge itself, there is no bondage or liberation from this world, which is produced by lack of knowledge.
Okay, so basically it appears as if there is bondage and liberation for the Lord. So he gives two reasons. What are the two reasons? Yes, those are examples. So what are the two reasons why somebody may have this mundane vision of the Lord, that he is being bound and liberated? Right, so one is the desire of the devotees. So the devotees want to see the various pastimes of the Lord, and of course the Lord also wants to show his pastimes. So ultimately it is pastime. So it is Krishna's voluntary acceptance of so-called bondage and liberation. And so basically it's a pastime. That's one reason. The second reason is? Yes, ignorance. So the ignorance of the conditioned living entities, they may think that the Lord is bound like an ordinary human being.
So a question here.
Huh?
A question.
Okay, go ahead.
So Akrura, the whole story of Akrura is slightly disturbing. Say for example, Uddhav is pure and he's on the purest platform. There's no change in his position. Whereas Akrura is so knowledgeable, he shows transcendental feelings for the Lord when he sees the footprints, all of that, and then just for that Samantaka jewel, he does certain things which are completely opposite. So if he does something like that, who's at such a level, then what to speak of us people, like all of us. So what is it? Because he was serving under Kamsa, is there any commentary because of that he behaved like that in a certain way, just like Parikshit, because of hitting the...
So for that you have to read the pastime of the Shamantak jewel, especially from Krishna book. Then you'll get the proper understanding, because Srila Prabhupada very clearly explains everything in that Shamantak jewel pastime. And so yes, so there Srila Prabhupada explains that yes, he was also definitely exalted. He was one of the Yadus, living in Dwarka as an associate of the Lord. He was definitely an exalted person. But still, even on that platform, the power of the illusory energy is so strong that due to the attachment to wealth, even such an exalted person can become degraded. That is the point. So therefore, that's why one has to be so careful about the influence of the illusory energy. So the illusory energy can influence even such exalted personalities. And that is why he fell into that trap, and then after that he even had to leave Dwarka for some time, stay in Varanasi, and so many things happened, all because of that influence of wealth, pride, all because of that. And so
also Bharat Maharaj's story.
Yes. So therefore the important lesson for us is that if such exalted personalities can be influenced, then what about us? How much careful we need to be. Otherwise, in the material world, one can very easily become a trap of the illusory energy. Alright?
Isn't it because of him being cruel to gopis?
Right, that's also said as a reason as why he had to leave Dwarka. So it said why he had to leave Dwarka for some time is because of that. Yes, the curse of the gopis. That is true. But the whole pastime of the Shamantak jewel, that takes place because of his greed.
had this inclination.
Yes, exactly. Satyajit was the same thing. He also was one of the Yadus. Again, the same thing. So all because of this greed for wealth. Very dangerous. Anyway, that's another discussion. There are a lot of verses in the Bhagavatam talking about that. Okay, text 23. Tvayoditoyam jagato hitaya yada yada vedapata puranaha bhadyet bhashandak pater asadbis tada bhavan sattvagunam vibharti. Somebody read translation.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You originally initiated the ancient religious path of the Vedas for the benefit of the whole universe. Whenever that path becomes obstructed by wicked persons following the path of atheism, you assume one of your incarnations, which are all in the transcendental mode of goodness.
Okay, you can read this.
Though you are involved in pastimes beyond the material modes, as described in the previous verses, whenever this ancient path of dharma initiated by you is disturbed by the demons, you appear in the universe to increase sattva guna in order to maintain the righteous by protecting the path of dharma.
Okay, that's quite a simple point, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also. Yes, yada yada hi dharmasya gnani, but similar to that. 24. Satvam prabodhya vasudeva griheva tirna swam shena bharam apanetum ihasi bhume akshauhini shatavadena sureta ramsha ragyam amushya chakulasya yasho vitinvan.
You are that very same Supreme Person, my Lord, and you have now appeared in the home of Vasudeva with your plenary portion. You have done this to relieve the earth's burden by killing hundreds of armies led by the kings who are expansions of the demigods' enemies, and also to spread the fame of your dynasty.
Our dynasty.
Of our dynasty. Purport: the term Suretaram Rajñam indicates that demoniac kings slain by Krishna were in fact expansions or incarnations of the enemies of the demigods. This fact is elaborately explained in Mahabharata, which reveals the specific identities of demoniac kings.
So basically, explain the reason for the Lord's appearance, to kill all these demoniac personalities and also to increase the fame of the dynasty. 25. Adyeshano vasataya khalu bhuri bhaga ya sarvadeva pitribhuta nirdeva murti yat padashaucha sarilam trijagat punati satvam jagadguru radokshajaya pravishtaha.
Today, O Lord, my home has become most fortunate because you have entered it. As the Supreme Truth, you embody the forefathers, ordinary creatures, human beings and demigods, and the water that has washed your feet purifies the three worlds. Indeed, O Transcendent One, you are the spiritual master of the universe. Purport: Sridhar Swami has nicely interpreted Akrura's feelings as follows. Akrura said, "My Lord, although I am a householder, today my home has become more pious than the forest where sages perform austerities. Why? Simply because you have entered my home. Indeed, you are the personification of the deities who preside over the 5 sacrifices a householder must perform daily to atone for unavoidable violence committed to the living beings in the home. You are the spiritual truth behind all these creations, and now you have entered my home. The 5 daily sacrifices enjoined for the householder are sacrifice to Brahman by by studying the Vedas, sacrifice to the forefathers by making offerings to them, sacrifice to all creatures by putting aside a portion of one's meal, sacrifice to human beings by extending hospitality, and fifth, to sacrifice to the demigods by performing fire sacrifices and so on.
Right. so he is glorifying, Akrura is glorifying the Supreme Lord, that he is more, so his house has become more pious than the forests where sages perform austerity. So that is in the mode of goodness. But when the Lord comes, it's Shuddha Sattva on the transcendental platform, so it's better than the forest. And so, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, then one does not have to perform these 5 sacrifices, Panch Mahayagya. So Panch Mahayagya, Brahma Yagya, Pitri Yagya, Bhuta Yagya, Nir Yagya and Deva Yagya. So these are the 5 sacrifices which an ordinary householder needs to perform to neutralize the various sinful reactions that one undergoes because of ordinary daily activities. You have heard of Panchashuna, correct? Panchashuna. Brooming, lighting a fire, putting a water pot, and grinding, all that. So basically, those are just 5 examples of how even in ordinary daily activities, one undergoes sinful reactions. And of course, so many others could also be included while eating, breathing, and so many daily activities. So therefore, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita purport, every ordinary householder has to perform this Panch Mahayagya to neutralize all these sinful activities.
Daily performance of yajna for Pitra.
So that is Shraddha, that may be done once a year, Shraddha ceremony. But this is simply some offerings to the Pitris in some sacrifice done daily. So in the Vedic tradition, every day in the morning, just like you hear about Krishna's daily activities also, every day in the morning there would be lighting of sacrificial fire and some yajna being performed. So therefore, some ahuti is offered to the Pitris every day. So not an elaborate Shraddha ceremony, but some ahuti is offered to the Pitris for their benefit. Chigan, you have something? Okay. So of course, but when one takes to devotional service, then one does not have to perform all these Panch Mahayagya. One yajna is sufficient. Sankirtan yajna. So one performs Sankirtan yajna, then therefore Maha Mantra, it includes all other mantras. So at least that one we should perform properly. Otherwise no 5, no 1. That is for other living beings and all. Of course, if somebody is not a devotee, then yes, they should perform all these 5. But nowadays, no 5, no 1, nothing. So at least 1 we can perform. Okay, text 26. Kapanditastvad param sharanam samiyad bhakta priyavruta gira surudha kritagyat sarvan dadati surdho bhajato bhikhaman atma namapya upachaya pachayo nayasya.
Hare Krishna. What learned person would approach anyone but you for shelter? When you are the affectionate, grateful and truthful well-wisher of your devotees. To those who worship you in sincere friendship, you reward everything they desire. Even yourself, your own self. Yet you never increase or diminish. Purport. This verse describes both the Lord and His devotees as Suruda, well-wisher. The Lord is the well-wisher of his devotee, and the devotee lovingly desire all happiness for the Lord. Even in this world, an excess of love may sometimes produce unnecessary solicitude. For example, we often observe that a mother loving concern for her adult child is not always justified by an actual danger to the child. A grown child may be wealthy, competent and healthy, and yet the mother loving concern continue. Similarly, a pure devotee always feel loving concern for Lord Krishna as exemplified by Mother Yashoda, who could only think of Krishna as her beautiful son. Lord Krishna had promised Akrura that after killing Kamsa he would visit his home, and now the Lord kept his promise. Akrura recognized this and glorified the Lord as a Ritagira, one who is true to his words. The Lord is Kritagna, grateful for whatever little worship a devotee offers. And even if the Lord forgets,
even if the devotee forgets,
even if the devotee forgets, the Lord does not.
So here he is saying, Ka Pandita, which learned person would not approach you because you have so many wonderful qualities. Bhakta Priyat. So what are all the qualities of the Lord? Bhakta Priyat, Ritagira, Suruda, Kritagya and Suruda. So the Lord has so many wonderful qualities. So he's saying, which learned person will not take shelter of you? So we already discussed about gratitude, gratefulness. The Lord, he keeps his word. In this case, he is coming to visit these devotees because he had promised that he would come. Suruda. Okay, let's read from here.
Hare Krishna. 26. What learned person would surrender to anyone other than you, who are true to your words, Ritagra, having kept your promise to come to my house after killing Kamsa, who are the best friend, Surda, knowing what is the best for your servant and doing that, who are most grateful, Kritagna, remembering anything that your devotee has done for you as an act of service, even if done once or is insignificant, forgotten even by the devotee himself, who have a splendorous heart, Surda, without personal desire, and who gives the desired result to those who worship you. Even if they do not desire something, you also give that. Though you give so much, you are not finished. You give even yourself. If you give even yourself, will you not be left with nothing? No. For you, there is not increase or decrease. Though presented with all things by millions of Brahmas of millions of years, you do not increase. And though you give everything, even yourself, to your devotees, you have no decrease because you are inconceivable, unlimited energy.
Om Purnamada Purnam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashyate. So that is basically the philosophy here.
Lord says, Aham Bhakt Paradina. I give myself fully. So he gives as well as he does not give. Is it like to understand?
So in what sense he gives and does not give?
Means he still has a freedom.
Yes, he is always free.
Yeah, somebody says, no, I am a prisoner in your heart.
So Lord said to Vasudeva that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said.
Yes. Yes.
But that is the Lord's voluntary surrendering his free will to the devotee.
Correct.
But if the Lord wants, he can take it back also. So it's totally under his control, no? But then, in general, it's true. He surrenders himself to his devotee. But then the Lord's position is always the Lord. Therefore, Arjuna is addressing Krishna as first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Achyuta, infallible. His position always remains the same. Even though he takes the position as a charioteer and Arjuna is giving orders to Krishna, but Arjuna wants to remember himself and also tell the Lord, your position is always Achyuta, even though you have taken position of charioteer.
In general terms, how we understand in ourselves, like if somebody says, I am your servant, I have given totally to yourself. So then that person cannot give himself to other person because he is now property of this person. Because it's a simple understanding. If I give to somebody, okay, I am totally yours. So then I cannot be giving myself because one is already purchased. Now here Lord keep on saying to many devotees because it's mentioned here, he is not decreased.
Yes, that's the point. So it's not that if he becomes servant of one devotee, he cannot become servant of another devotee. The Lord is unlimited. He can expand himself into unlimited forms and become everyone's servant. Correct? Just like he expanded himself into so many forms to serve all the queens. So he wanted to serve the queens. He reciprocate with their love. So that's his service which he is rendering to us. So he expanded himself to serve all of them nicely. So for the Lord there is no limitation. That's what he is saying. So he can expand himself and still not decrease. That's a good point. Remembering anything that your devotee has done for you as an act of service, even if done once, or is insignificant, forgotten even by the devotee himself. Examples. Muchikunda, okay, what he did?
Before, but he was in deep sleep. Not in thinking about Lord in that way. But Lord himself came and woke him up to give darshan.
Okay, fine. Muchikunda, yes, what else? Some other examples? Okay, Putana, he accepted the service as a mother. What else? Okay, Draupadi. Online, any examples? Even insignificant?
Jatayu.
Jatayu, yes. Sudama, yes.
Monkey.
So even though Sudama never expected anything in return, but the Lord remembered and gave.
Squirrel, monkeys.
Okay, the squirrel and
Where they have forgotten, devotee have forgotten. The fruit vendor lady.
okay, the fruit vendor lady, yes, she also didn't expect anything. She did service, but she didn't expect. Not that forgotten, but she didn't expect only. But still the Lord reciprocated. Okay, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Mahaprakash Leela is reciprocating with so many of those devotees, yes. Anyway, that's not exactly in relation to the Lord, but the Lord's devotee. I was just hearing this lecture today. So about Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj, as he is stepping into the spiritual airplane from Vaikuntha, whom is he remembering? His mother. So his mother gave him a piece of good advice. How many years back? 36,000 years back. More than 36,000 years back. She gave him that advice. But now, more than 36,000 years later, he is remembering. So that's remembering, gratitude. So, important things to learn. Otherwise, the tendency is to forget so easily. We tend to forget so fast what somebody else has done for us. So therefore, there is a saying which says that one must forget even the greatest of things oneself does for others and one must remember even the smallest of things others do to oneself. That's the principle of gratitude. So of course these qualities are all coming from the Lord, but then we have to learn to put them into practice. Okay, 27. दिष्ट्या जनार्दन भवान् निहन प्रतीतो योगेश्वरैरपि दुरापगति सुरेशै चिन्द्याशुन सुतकलत्र धनाप्तगेह देहादिमोहरशनां भवदीय मायाम्.
It is by our great fortune, Janardana, that you are now visible to us. For even the masters of yoga and the foremost demigods can achieve this goal only with great difficulty. Please quickly cut the ropes of our illusory attachment for children, wife, wealth, influential friends, home and body. All such attachment is simply the effect of your illusory material energy.
Okay, so after all the glorification, now he is asking for a benediction. So he's saying that you are Yogeshwarer api durapagati sureshai. So to achieve him is durapagati. Very difficult even for Sura Ishai, the rulers of the demigods. Even for them, it is difficult to achieve the Supreme Lord. But he's saying, I am so fortunate that you are visible right in front of me. This is very difficult even for the demigods. And so therefore he is requesting Chindi, cut. Ashu, very soon, cut. Suta, Kalatra, Dhana, Apta, Geha, Deha, Adi, Moha Rashanam. Okay, so cut off all these connections to wife, children, wealth, friends, home, body, and so on. Cut these ropes. What are the ropes? Bhavadiya Mayam. All these ropes of illusion are because of your Maya. Okay. Okay, now just
Prabhu, one question.
Okay.
Prabhu, when the truth is so clear, why is it so confusing? I mean, everywhere, every time it says Suta, Kalatra, Dhana, Apta, Geha, Deha, Adi, Moha. So then this whole institution of marriage, and on one side you have to do dharma, on the other side you have to cut the relationships. How do you understand this?
I think so by now you should be able to answer this question.
I can practically, but I would like to hear from you.
Now first you tell, then we will add something.
And so it is a process of purification that we are put into this position of being married, or maybe by desire we got married or something like that. But the institution of marriage at least keeps us away from sinning by polluting other women or other men, depending on the gender. And so it's a process of purification, and then you basically gradually come out of it. And then when you come out of it, you don't force yourself out of it. You let him drive you and you surrender unto him. Is that okay, bro?
Okay, but surely there are some more points which can be added. Somebody would like to add some more points?
Then
one more is
what is condemned is the attachment to the things that we may have or may not have. Then it's not that if we don't have, we are free of it. Even if you don't have, if you attachment to that, it is same thing only. So we have developed the detachment by engaging everything in Lord service. So although one may be having the kingdom and so many subjects, still he is free. Like great kings of Ambaresh Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, they have all these things, but everything is for Lord service. The mode of how you are engaging everything and what is the consciousness of person.
Correct. So you can read Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter verses 8 to 12. There Srila Prabhupada explains that wife, children, parents, relatives, all these are natural objects of affection. So there is natural affection for them and there is no problem with that affection. But the problem is with attachment, unnecessary material attachment. So therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna is saying, Dharma viruddho kame, what was that? Dharma viruddho kameshu. So if it is in accordance to dharma, then there is no problem. Then there is no problem. So if one is following the principles of dharma in grihastha life, then that will lead to purification and gradual elevation, because the grihastha ashram is meant for living with Krishna in the center. So when Krishna is in the center, then one sees all other family members as representatives of Krishna or as a responsibility given by Krishna. And so therefore then one can engage all family members in Krishna's service, and so then one will not develop a material attachment, but one will have the right spiritual vision and understanding towards the family members. And so then when one is in that consciousness, then at the right time one can renounce also easily. So then that type of grihastha ashram is not condemned, that's glorified. It's also an ashram, so that is not a problem. But it's only when one does not have Krishna in the center and then one becomes materially attached, then that's a problem. And we see again, the famous example is that of Maharani Kunti. What is she praying? In the first canto of the Bhagavatam we read. So she is praying for, she is also telling the same thing, Chindanti. She is also here, just like here he is praying Chindi, similar word. So she is also praying to cut off the attachments to the Vrishnis and the Pandavas. So somebody may say, but they are devotees. Then how can one cut off attachment towards devotees? So of course she is not telling Krishna to cut off the attachments on the spiritual platform, but she is telling to cut off the attachments on the material platform as family members. So in order to have that right spiritual vision of family members as parts and parcels of Krishna, then when one is in spiritual consciousness, which one can develop by the regular process of purification and sadhana, then one will have the right perception towards family members. Then one will not develop material attachment, but one will perform duties as spiritual parts and parcels. And at the right time one can renounce.
Yes, Guru.
Okay? Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So that's the end of this section of Akrura's prayer. So he offers all these prayers, and at the end he asks for a benediction, and that is cutting off all these material attachments to family members, wealth, and so on. Okay, fine. Now the last part of the chapter, please read just the translations.
Sukdev Goswami continued, thus worshipped and fully glorified by his devotees, the Supreme Lord Hari smilingly addressed Akrura, completely charming him with his words.
Okay, let's recite the Lord's words. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Tvam no Guru Pitravyascha Shlagyo Bandhuscha Nityada Vayam tu Raksha Poshascha Anukampya Prajahivaha.
The Supreme Lord said, You are our spiritual master, paternal uncle, and praiseworthy friend, and we are like your sons, always dependent on your protection, sustenance, and compassion.
So you can see this reciprocation. Akrura is glorifying Krishna, but Krishna is glorifying Akrura. And he is saying, you are Tvamna Guru, Pitrivya, Bandhu. So he is saying, you are a spiritual master, or uncle, friends. We are like your sons. Anukampya, Praja. He is saying, we are Praja. So we are meant to be protected by you. So of course, Krishna is having that relationship with his devotees. So he's speaking like this. 30. Bhavadvida mahabhaga nishevya arha sattamaha shreyas kame nrabir nityam deva swartha nasadavaha.
Exalted souls like you are the true objects of service and the most worshipable authorities for those who desire the highest good in life. Demigods are generally concerned with their own interests, but saintly devotees never are. Whereas demigods may award material benefit, saintly devotees of the Lord have the power to award the real perfection of life, Krishna consciousness. Thus Lord Krishna reinforces the respectful mood he has adopted here towards his uncle Akrura.
So you can see how Krishna is glorifying Akrura. So he has developed that respect towards Akrura. And he's saying you are the true objects of service. Nishevya Arha Sattamaha is of those who are worshipable, most saintly. So in this way he's glorifying Akrura. And then he's comparing him with the Devatas. So he's saying the Devatas, Deva Swartha na Sadhava. So Devatas, they are concerned, they are Swarthi. They are only concerned with their personal interests and people just do business. But this is unlike the saintly persons who are really concerned about the true welfare of others. If you remember, this is coming in the 11th canto. But in the 11th canto, right in the beginning, you find this conversation between Vasudeva and Narad Muni. So there also we find Vasudeva is glorifying Narad Muni, comparing him with the Devatas. So he gives a nice example there. So he says that the Devatas can offer benedictions only that which is due according to karma. Only that much they can give. So therefore, they can give something which is, which the person is supposed to get, only according to the karma. So it's like a shadow. So just like the shadow has no independence, so similarly Devatas have no independence. So only according to karma that much they can give. But then he says, saintly persons like you, he says they are like a very benevolent, merciful father. So just like when a child is going through a nightmare at night and he's suffering, then what will the father do? Yes, he'll wake him up. And then by waking him up, the nightmare is gone, suffering is gone. So he says, saintly persons like you are like the loving father who can awaken the sleeping conditioned souls from their slumber and bring them out of ignorance and suffering. So therefore, the saintly people are superior to the demigods. The sadhus, saintly people are superior to the demigods. So demigods just do business, whatever the person is supposed to get according to karma, that much they give. But the saintly people, they actually wake up the conditioned souls from the suffering condition, like a father waking up the child. And thus they can do real welfare for the living beings. So here also we find same thing. Krishna is comparing Akrura with the demigods. So he's saying that Akrura is like a saintly person and he's comparing it with the demigods. Okay, let's read this.
O Akrura, you are our Guru Father. Guru Father. From the point of view of normal behavior, you are worthy of respect by us. This is stated in verse 29. From the spiritual point of view, you must be worshipped, since you are the highest devotee. This is stated in this verse. Among those worthy of worship, you are the most worshipable, Arha Sattama. But worship of the Devas is more famous. The Devatas are self-interested, but the devotees are not. They are intent on giving mercy to others.
Okay, fine. 31. Nahi ammayani tirthani na deva mrichla maya te punanti urukalena darshana deva sadavaha.
No one can deny that there are holy places with sacred rivers, or that the demigods appear in deity forms made of earth and stone. But these purify the soul only after a long time, whereas saintly persons purify just by being seen.
There's a similar verse in the first canto, right? First canto, first chapter, is it 14th verse? 14th or 15th verse, I think. Where the sages are glorifying Sutta Goswami and they are comparing him, similar thing, comparing him with taking bath in the Ganges.
Tirtha Padani.
Huh?
Bhavad
Tirtha
Vida
Padani.
Yes, what verse is that?
Around
15, no? Right. Yes. Yatpada samshaya suta muniya prashamayana sadyat punanti upasprishta svardhunya apo anusevaya. Also those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can at once sanctify those who come in touch with them, whereas waters of the Ganges can sanctify only after prolonged use. Right, Prabhupada writes, to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord means to take shelter of the pure devotees. The pure devotees whose only business is serving the Lord are honored by the names Prabhupada and Vishnupad, which indicate such devotees to be represented with the lotus feet of the Lord. Anyone therefore who takes shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee by accepting the pure devotee as a spiritual master can be at once purified. Such devotees of the Lord are honored equally with the Lord because they are engaged in the most confidential service of the Lord for the deliverer out of the material world, the fallen souls whom the Lord wants to return on back to Godhead. Such pure devotees are better known as the vice lords. Prabhupada is Krishnizing the word viceroy. Prabhupada spoke about viceroys and the British rule, correct? So that word Prabhupada is turning into vice lords according to revealed scriptures. The sincere disciples of a pure devotee consider him equal with the Lord, but the pure devotee always considers the humble soul. Right, so similar comparison. So here also the Lord is comparing Akrura with the holy places, with sacred rivers or the demigods. So they can purify after a long time, but the association with the saintly person can purify immediately. Those are holy waters and those pure, that is very difficult for me. Okay, fine. 32. स भवान् सुहृदां वैनः श्रेयान् श्रेयश्चिकीर्षया जिज्ञासार्थं पाण्डवानां गच्छस्व त्वं गृहावयम्.
You are indeed the best of our friends. So please go to Hastinapur and as the well-wisher of the Pandavas, find out how they are doing. In Sanskrit, the imperative you go may be rendered by gachasva or gacha. In the second of these cases, the word following gacha, namely swa, which is taken in the vocative sense, indicates Krishna addressing Akrura as our own. This is in reference to Lord Krishna's intimate relationship with his uncle.
Okay. 33. Pitari uparate bala saha matra sudukkitaha anita swapuram ragya vasanta iti shushrama.
We have heard that when their father passed away, the young Pandavas were brought with their anguished mother to the capital city by King Dhritarashtra, and that they are now living there.
तेषु राजाम्बिका पुत्रो भ्रात्रा पुत्रेषु दीनदी समो न वर्तते नूनं दुष्पुत्र वशगो अंतत्रिक.
Indeed, weak-minded Dhritarashtra, the son of Ambika, has come under the control of his wicked son, and therefore that blind king is not treating his brother's sons fairly.
गच्छ जानीहि तद्वृत्तम् अधुना साधु साधुवा विज्ञाय तद्विदास्यामो यथा शंसुरुधां भवेत्.
Go and see whether Dhritarashtra is acting properly or not. When we find out, we will make the necessary arrangements to help our dear friends.
इति अक्रूरं समादिश्य भगवान् हरिरीश्वरः संकर्षणोद्धवाद्धं वै ततस्वभवनं ययौ.
Sukadeva Goswami continued, thus fully instructing Akrura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, then returned to his residence, accompanied by Lord Sankarshan and Uddhava.
Thus, in the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, His Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 48th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna Pleases His Devotees.
Akrura did such nice prayer and he asked some benediction. Lord just spoke some other things and then
he gave him service. So that is real benediction. Service.
He might be waiting for his own aspirations.
That will happen later. Now service. Who is not there? No, but he only brought Krishna, no? He went home. I read this somewhere, I think. Correct. Anyway. Okay, fine. So that's the end of our discussions on these 3 chapters of the 10th canto. So thank you all very much for your kind association and participation. So especially like to thank Arjuneshwar Prabhu for kindly engaging me in some service and the privilege of discussing and studying Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. So it's always a very pleasurable experience to study Bhagavatam in the association of devotees, and so I don't know how much you have gained, but definitely I have a lot to gain. So it's so many things are revealed in the association of devotees. So thank you very much for allowing me to render this service. Though of course my understanding, knowledge, realization is all very poor and limited. So please forgive me for that. But whatever little I could try to do, simply try to follow Arjuneshwar Prabhu's instruction. So I try to do small service. And with your association and blessings, hopefully I'll make some progress. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthar Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samed Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha
Kripa Sindhubhyascha Pattanam Paneya Vaishnavim. Hare Krishna, we are very, very thankful and grateful to Prabhuji for giving his valuable time. I had requested Prabhuji earlier also, but Prabhuji's schedule is so busy and still he took out his valuable time. After, while IELTS was going on, Prabhuji was already busy there, still he came here and give the classes. And I heard from so many devotees that all they said that they're liking the lecture so nicely. Means Prabhuji gave, like today we just heard this point of culture and philosophy. It's totally integrated in Vaishnava Siddhanta. So Prabhuji so nicely emphasized it. So many points as Prabhuji explained to all of us. So we are very, very grateful to him, and we like that Prabhuji should also take some further our units, and we become also benefited by his speech as well as his blessings. So it's nothing mine. Prabhuji is so senior, and I'm simply he's like a student only. And so we thank Prabhuji by one time chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Prabhuji, we
This was very
request you
complicated
to come
topic.
for all the units first, at least 10th canto. We are very eager to hear you, Prabhuji. So
This
such
was very
wonderful points.
complicated topic. Actually, we should invite Prabhuji in 11th canto, the philosophy. This complicated topic, he means this is difficult topic on the Gopi, Bhav and all, but he made it practical. I was thinking, how will Prabhuji will explain now?
But so many takeaway points also. I mean, really, it was an eye-opening session today, especially for me, who was a little laxed in Krishna consciousness. Now I'll be like, और जागरूक हो जाऊंगी मैं.
So anyway, I have no realization to speak about this Mahabhava of Radharani and all that. So I
Thank you,
spoke
Prabhuji.
something which I could relate to.
And we are grateful that you are telling him, we are saying that the culture, I have seen that Prabhuji will always there in the pakka on time, not on time, before time only. So
Hare.
I'm really grateful and I'm going to learn this from Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So next Bhaktivedanta classes for next unit will be taken by Damodar Prabhu, and will be coming physically to Pune and giving Damodar Prabhu GEV, ISKCON GEV. And
Date to bolo, date.
date is 27th of next month, 27th to 31st.
Ek minute.
I think His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj is coming that time. Maybe you can just check up, Prabhuji.
27.
Yeah, but now it is fixed because previous weeks Prabhuji is in foreign. He is returning back on 22nd, and so he will take the from 27 to 31st.
Fine, we'll adjust. No problem, Prabhuji, we'll adjust.
So next week we have exam, no?
इस बार का एग्जाम है क्या नहीं?
Not coming in May. Hare Krishna Maharaj is coming in June months. Okay.
इस महीने का इसका एग्जाम है क्या?
First next month, our course will commence. Hare Krishna.
What about exam, Prabhu?
Exams, I will see if the questions are there in this unit, sufficient questions. Then I will write message. Accordingly, we'll go ahead. Okay.
क्या लेने वाले? कौन से चैप्टर लेने वाले हो?
Next 4 chapters. A message of Rukmani to Krishna. Till that, it means 10.49 to 52. 49 to 52.
Okay.
So please plan your schedule like that. Don't make holiday.
Please don't change, yeah?
No, it's Prabhuji has fixed now. There's no change.
बताएंगे.
Hare Krishna.
अरे बाबा.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Dhanvat Pranam.
अजुनेश्वर को वंशोधन को फिक्स करो. अभी से डेट ले लो उनका.